I went back to 3 of my recent drift sessions, and the weird thing is, I don't think any of these cars feel fake. They all feel realistic to me, but not in the same way. One of them feels easier to trust right away, one feels more raw and sketchy, like it wants a little more commitment, and one made me pay attention to every small mistake way more than I expected. So I'm not ranking these from bad to good, I'm ranking them by what kind of realism they give you when you're behind the wheel. And honestly, my number one surprised me a little. The 3 packs I'm comparing are Super Drift Virtual's Street BMW pack, DWG, and N-Style. And for this ranking, I'm looking at 3 things. First is weight transfer. Basically, does the car feel like it has mass when I throw it into a corner, or does it just rotate too cleanly? Second is throttle control. If I add too much throttle, does that car actually change behavior in a way that makes sense? And third is how believable the mistakes feel. That one matters a lot to me because in drifting, the car can still be fun even when it's difficult. But when mistakes feel random or when the car saves you too easily, it breaks the illusion a little bit. And again, I like all 3 of these packs. This is not me saying that one is bad. This is more about which one gives me the strongest feeling of being connected to the car. At number 3, I'm putting the Super Drift Virtual Street BMW pack. And I almost don't like calling this number 3 because that makes it sound worse than it is. It's not. This is probably the easiest one for me to jump into and start driving with confidence. The BMWs feel planted in a way that makes the car very readable. When I start sliding, I can understand pretty quickly what the car wants from me. And it doesn't feel like I'm fighting the physics at every corner, and that makes it really good for clean driving footage. The thing I like about this pack is that it gives you room to settle down. You can focus on your line, your steering, and your throttle without feeling like every tiny correction is about to turn into a disaster. And honestly, for a lot of people, that might make this the best pack. Because realistic doesn't always mean brutally difficult. Sometimes realistic means the car gives you enough feedback that you can actually trust it. Where I rank it slightly lower is that compared to the other 2, it feels a little more forgiving to me. Just a little more friendly. When I make small mistakes, I feel like I have more time to clean them up. The car lets me recover without making every correction feel dramatic. And depending on what you want, that can be a good thing. For smooth, street-style drifting, chill sessions, or just getting into a flow without constantly fighting the car, this pack feels really good. So for me, Super Drift Virtual is the most accessible, realistic pack out of the 3. It still feels believable, but it gives you the most confidence the fastest. At number 2, I'm putting DWG, and DWG has a completely different feeling. This one feels more raw to me. Not necessarily harder in every situation, but it has this street drift energy where the car feels a little more alive underneath you. The weight movement feels more noticeable. When I throw the car in, it feels like I have to commit to what I'm doing. I can't just casually flick it and assume everything is gonna line up perfectly. There's a little more sketchiness to it, but in a good way. That's actually what makes it feel believable. The car doesn't feel like it's trying to be perfectly polished all the time. It feels like something that wants confident inputs. If I'm lazy with the steering or if I'm too late with throttle, I can feel the drift start to fall apart. And that's where DWG is really fun. It makes the run feel more physical. Even through a sim wheel, there's this sense that the car has momentum and attitude. It wants to rotate and wants to push wide, and I have to keep adjusting instead of just holding one perfect angle. The reason I'm not putting it at number 1 is because sometimes that raw feeling can also make it feel a little less clean for longer runs. That's not really a flaw. It just depends on the kind of realism you like. DWG feels like the pack I choose when I want the driving to look and feel more aggressive, more street, more like I'm chasing the car a little bit instead of calmly guiding it. And for toge or rougher style footage, that actually works really well. So I'd call DWG the most raw street realism out of the 3. It feels believable because it doesn't always feel perfectly comfortable, and that's kind of the point. At number 1, I'm putting N-Style. And the reason is not because it's the flashiest or easiest, it's because this one gives me the strongest feeling that every small input matters. With N-Style, I feel more connected to what the car is doing. The throttle changes the line in a way that makes sense. The steering corrections feel important. And when the car starts to move underneath me, I feel like I have to actually drive through it instead of just waiting for the slide to stabilize. That's the thing I keep noticing with this pack. It rewards patience. If I rush to entry, it shows. If I get greedy with the throttle, it shows. If I get lazy with my hands, the car starts telling me almost immediately. And I like that. Because when a drift pack makes you clean up your driving, it starts feeling more useful than just fun. It makes me pay attention to the boring little details. How early I lift, how smoothly I get back on throttle, how much angle I'm asking from the car before the rear is actually ready. And even though this is still Assetto Corsa, that kind of feedback makes the driving feel more real to me. Not because it's punishing for no reason, but because the mistakes feel connected to what I did. That's the big difference. There are some cars or packs where you mess up and it feels like the sim just decided to do something weird. With N-Style, when I mess up, I usually understand why. I can feel the moment where I asked too much from the car, or got too comfortable, or carried the wrong speed into the next transition. And that makes the good runs feel better. Because when I link a section cleanly, it doesn't feel like the car gave it to me for free. It feels like I had to stay present the whole time. That's why N-Style is my number 1 here. Not because DWG or Super Drift Virtual feels unrealistic, they don't. But N-Style gives me the most connected driver-focused realism out of these 3. That could change the more I drive them, but from these recent sessions, that's where I'm at. I'm curious though, because drift packs are one of those things where everyone feels something different through their setup. So let me know which one feels most realistic to you, and which drift pack I should compare next. I'll catch you on the next run. Peace.